All right, I will accept the recording. How are we doing today? Is there anything outstanding that you guys have seen that you would like me to address for absolute sure?
Not unless you can call a closure to the legislature for the year.
That would be the best situation here, I think, possible. I'll do my best. How about that?
I would agree.
Man. Well, I'll kind of jump into a few things. It is a pretty short report. We're coming into our cutoff for the second house or opposite house and the policy committees, which is Thursday. So we're seeing a lot of bills come through. The Senate seems to be where things are dying. They may die also in the fiscal committees. You know, they come out of policy committee. Everything's just kind of very, very up in the air right now. And here's why. There is no communication whatsoever between the two parties, House or the Senate. And this is really highlighted by the fact that when these budgets come out, the Democrats are in majority. They're putting the budgets out and having a hearing the same day, but they'll out and then they'll ask the Republicans, hey, what do you think? And the Republicans are going, we don't know. We haven't seen it. Give us a minute to read it. It's that bad. So there's really not any conversation back and forth. It's in terms of the Republicans, they're 100% reactionary because they don't even know what's coming until it drops. So it makes it extremely difficult, as you can imagine, to really get any grasp on anything and just really have any input in how things are going. Tell you is that if they're actually, it looks like they are, but if they actually plan to take operating budget money and distribute that to the capital budget and to transportation, they're going to have Republican support. How they're going to get that is kind of up in the air right now because the Republicans know, because they showed it last year, the governor will probably veto any of the compromises that are put into the budget that he doesn't like because he did it already. And he quite frankly just doesn't care. So, maybe, and this is complete conjecture and maybe hopeful conjecture, some of these firearms bills, some of the limiting of speech bills, some of the stuff like that, may be the bargaining chips this year that the Republicans put out. They say, look, we're not going to vote on your budget if you pass any of these. A couple of the ones, for example, that were heard this week, 1705, it's ghost guns. Then they talk about 2037, modifying the standard use of force by peace officers. That's a big one because in especially the I-5 corridor, really King County, all these cities now asking their city councils for funding to supply private security because the cops can't do anything. So it's becoming more and more public, and people are, at least business owners, are becoming more disgruntled with that. Here's a big concern one, 1630. Establishing restrictions on possession of weapons in certain locations. What that one talks about, and the auditors are pushing this one because of the election areas. They don't want people open carrying weapons there, firearms. But there's some language in this bill that would mean that this apply to anywhere where there's a public meeting or elected official meeting held. It just says if there's meetings held in that building, you can't open carry in the building. So that's your courthouse. That's anywhere where you may have met or may meet. So beyond the fact that you probably don't like the bill anyway, we've got the local control issue where they're overriding us on that. And then number two, it's so broad and so vague that, holy crap, where all can you and can you not open carry? So, we've got some stuff like that coming out that may be bargaining chips. Again, if session just ended right now, it'd be fantastic. We wouldn't worry about it. One that I've got quite a few questions on is Senate Bill 5909. That's limiting the governor's powers in the state of emergency or emergency proclamations. There's a lot of conversation on both sides of this. People are reluctant to support it. Specifically because it really is kind of a do-nothing bill, statement, and that's because number Number one, it would, if the legislature is not in session, it requires all four corners, so minority and majority party leaders in House and Senate to agree unanimously, which gives you kind of a de facto veto on removing a state of emergency. Just one has to disagree. And two, it doesn't say anything about the governor being able to turn right back around and declare another state of emergency. I guess my advice on this bill, or my take on it, is, it's a policy step in the right direction. If we try and get more, they're going to kill it. If we can get this, at least it sets some sort of a baseline policy where we can go back maybe next year and say, hey, I think this 90 days and maybe bring it down to 60 and say that you have to have a majority of the four corners, so 3 out of the 4. So let one person hold out. Make them pick the bad guy that has to vote for it or doesn't have to vote for it, and whatever the minority party is, right? Or the majority party, whatever it is. But point being, we can come back and fix it, where if we try to go for more, we get nothing. So, we'll see. I think this bill, the 5909, is going to move forward. Governor's pissed about it, which means it's got to be something better than nothing, right? The other one that people are asking a lot of questions about is the transportation package. And the answer to any questions on transportation right now is it's not going to look anything like it does right now when they finally pass it. Because they're going to have to figure out a way to get it done. And there's a lot more asks, as usual, than they have money for. I mean, we're lots and lots and lots more projects than they have money for. So obviously big concern in that for us is, we're really looking for the preservation and maintenance funding. WASAC is doing a fantastic job there. If we get any, we should be happy, because what's going on in the Democratic Party right now, they're pretty sure they're not going to do real well this fall, and they're openly talking about it. So they're trying to get all their projects funded, for the next couple of years at least, because they don't think they're going to have a chance for a little while. That's kind of the background on those. And in terms of anything else going on, budgets did come out. Haven't had a chance to go through them yet. Got them yesterday. So, 630 some pages. So we should start seeing some budget breakdowns here pretty soon. The other thing that I'm going to do for all of our counties is I'm going to take and do a breakdown of who in the legislature, both House and Senate, is up for election this fall. I know that those are publicly available. Obviously, it's not anything you can't get your hands on, but I think it'll be beneficial to have the list in front of you in your email. Give us an idea of what bills will move this, towards the end of session, and which ones won't. Certain senators and representatives may need a win, or they need to kill it. It'll give us an insight. Because I can tell you, if the Republican Party is learning of what's going on as things happen, we're learning well after the fact. So that's what I've got for you guys right now. Are there any outstanding issues, any questions you have on specific bills, anything I can address, look into for you?
Yeah, Zach, this is Commissioner Christopher. Question regarding Senate Bill 5909, the limiting powers of the governor.
Yep.
There was I don't want to call it a press release, but a release by a legislator here rallying the base to testify in opposition to that bill. That they think it was actually crafted by the governor because it does nothing and will do nothing. And it sounds like you have a different take, that something's better than nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I guess where I'm pulling kind of that opinion or that recommendation from is I'm looking at, let's take the environmental activists over the last 30 years. They don't go for the whole shebang, right? They'll pick and choose little tiny, what we would consider important pieces of their puzzle, and they get small wins. And then, 3, 5, 10 years down the road, you get enough puzzle pieces together that you can see the whole picture and pull the big win together. I can't say that this isn't a governor draft bill. I mean, and realistically, it may be, but I guess it's up to the legislators, you guys, to balance that, and you are absolutely right. It is a do nothing bill because they have that de facto veto there with just one member. One of the four can say, no, we don't want to do that. And, the governor retains the power.
Right. And that was kind of their argument in this news release was, since it is a do nothing bill, this is nothing but the Democrats that are in risk of losing their seat being able to brag that they, did something on the issue.
Completely agree. Yeah, and that's your question. I mean, do you give them a little win like that and hope you can change the policy later?
Right.
Or do you pull that win back and say, no, we're going to get you this fall, and then when we get the majority next year, which is gamble, no promises at all, right? Then we'll put something in like this and really do it, because Inslee will still be governor.
Right.
And then that's a gamble too. Do you what happens if you get one house and not the other? Can you get it through both houses? And we've got some really, really great representatives for our rural areas here who are fantastic at crafting legislation in a way that it's difficult politically to say no to it. So it's a toss-up, to be honest with you. And I there's nothing that you said about that bill that I can disagree with.
Okay, thank you, sir. Other than that, I hope all these gun law things don't pass, and everything else doesn't pass for that matter, but keep up the good fight.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's not a lot good out there for us right now. So the other one I will be looking at, I sent out kind of an alert on 1117. I've got to go back and listen to the testimony on this bill, and then I'm going to call Paul Jewell at Wasack and see what he's thinking. But it sounds like this bill may be setting up some rulemaking specifically on tree height here that we don't want to see, especially in timber counties. So I've got a little, that just came up this morning. Somebody was told kind of under the table, hey, this is what they're doing. You might want to go back and listen to these specific things. So I'm going to see what I can find. If it is indeed what they're telling me it is, you'll see another update on that. So any other questions?
No other questions here, Zach.
All right. Well, one of these days I'm going to be able to deliver you guys some really good news.
Keep hoping.
Don't know when that will be, but I will be one of these days.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Oh, we should add Mr. McClure if you have anything. I was going to say I saw his hand.
Don't be aggravated, not responding.
Got it. I asked where to get this from. You guys all get the email for the journey through Klickitat? The newspaper journey through Klickitat.
For the ad day.
Oh,
The normal yearly.
normal year.
Yeah.
Multi-yearly. You gonna save your money this year?
Not that outrageous.
Well, 10 months left, yeah.
Have we tested out the assisted living things? Assisted listening?
No, I did not actually test them, but they are plugged in, so they should always be charged.
Start public comment.
Oh, yeah.
I believe that Rob and Gordon tested.
Oh, they did, oh, that was my question, because I saw the slide.
Decide where we're gonna put the other thing.
I put it on the end of this counter here, because it's,
Oh, so we do have 2 posts.
right, I figured that was the most visible.
We're all
The
doing
most
it.
visible.
Just take a range.
Just take a range.
Yeah, that thing is awesome. I think it's awesome.
Oh, yeah, if it's turned on, it's a little better.
Yeah, I remember when that stuff first came out, and I got the app, it's talk to type.
Mm-hmm.
So you type it in, well, then you go back and read it, you couldn't even understand what you were, have the word right off or something, you're like, really?
See the update on the invasion.
They launched,
2,000 troops must have heard, right?
but they just going after that eastern region that's.
No.
It's another
Start.
Crimea / Georgia /
Church's request for right to use military abroad was approved.
I'm surprised and be more curious how Germany responds.
They just shut it down.
Or how long,
I mean, isn't that like cutting your own throat?
to some degree. But if they turn it back on next week, after the annexation.
Does the board have any specific ideas of how you want that open house to go? I'll be meeting with Gordy sometime this week. We were kind of discussing, like in the meeting room down below, setting up the tables in there. Gordy's staff have already planned out the light refreshments. That way people can mill around in the lobby and or, check out things.
I got a couple of requests from a couple of different people that if there's going to be I guess I would say large tour. I don't know, I don't know if there'd be a large tour, but we might be able to arrange smaller tours. Go up.
That would make sense.
reached out to the former commissioners, and it sounds like they're both planning to be here as well.
Unexpected, but. What? Oh, okay.
He actually
You got a bunch of your meetings. There's one person that's at your chair. Yeah, that's true.
Rob's meeting.
Usually here.
President's meeting.
Actually, Rod is Rob's video too. See, I feel he's just. Yeah.
Is it plugged into the top or the bottom?
Looks like
How'd you know to check that?
I left the phone plugged in. I'm not even sure. So someone.
Which is what they do.
Leaps across there.
I don't know.
You want me to send that to you?
None of ours are working. Yeah. So the.
Oh.
It's working on it, it's plugged in. I don't think our mic has. Well, they could modern, they're the newest ones now, they're actually all in the break the box. Well, of course, sounds like, yeah. He'll not fix that. Some, you know, says that.
I got time.
I got, yeah, I got at least a couple hours of time for, my charge, but if you
Send it to you attention to in case there's something they can do.
Is that where? It's a whole complex of industrial.
Business park stuff, data center stuff. Actually, ways to solve it. Germany pulls the plug on the Nord Stream 2 gas pipeline as pressure builds on Biden to get tougher. President will reveal sanctions at 1 p.m. today as Congress urges him to target political owners.
Politics. So they did the same thing when he down to part of Georgia.
Primary.
Not the Crimea. Well, he did it in Georgia during the Olympics, and it was either one or two, and then he did Crimea in 2011.
Oil prices surging to $100 a barrel.
So it tends to go to the annex areas that are
Breakaway.
80%. I mean, ideally, once all of those things comes back, everything that broke out from the social recovery comes back. But for Ukraine, that's like a heavily industrialized area over there, so it's gonna take all that stuff and they can bring the farmland here to work. Think about it, what? Actually, kind of surprised that this part took right. The curiosity to me is whether Ukraine actually fights back or if they just retreat. Crimea, everybody just jumped out of their tanks and pulled to Iraq and fled back and finding the lines left all their equipment. But this time it's all US units.
Warn of local economic crash if a war breaks out. Well, let's just set this one up.
Yeah, it's good.
Slow on.
Well, that means blame it on Russia. You have too much inflation. Just blame it on the Russian invasion of 28%.
Gotta put in that fire pole, guys.
The what?
Fire pole.
Just breathing hard.
Good morning. Good morning. I think that's one. Welcome.
Whenever you gentlemen are ready, make sure the mics are on the green so people online can hear you.
Okay. We're looking good. All right, I have 3 items on the consent agenda from Public Works. The first, or item number 3 and item number 4. Well, item number 3 is a local agency supplement between the county and the state of Washington Department of Transportation. Number 4 is the same. And these are to move dollars that were currently allocated for another purpose, and we're moving those dollars. They allowed us to move them. So first, when we start a project, we have to do our best, make our best guess at how much in each phase we're going to spend. And so the money kind of gets locked into that phase. And so afterwards, we try to go back and still get those extra dollars and apply them to construction or where they're needed to pay for things. So, and use all those federal dollars that are available. So that's what these 2 agreements will accomplish. Allow us to use about $115,000 of what would have been unused federal dollars for the county. So we're using them. Item number 5 is a local agency agreement, and this is for our structural on-call. On the construction side, everything's still shut down. Probably maybe end of March, 1st of April, we'll get started and finish up Roosevelt and the remaining signs and guideposts that need to be put in on Canyon Road. There's still piles of snow on the upper side up on top of the plateau on Canyon, so it still makes it pretty much impossible to complete those projects. Let's see, on the design side, Courtney Road was awarded last week, and we're moving toward signed contracts and performance bond from the contractor. Klickitat Path, our guys met with WashDOT, and we were able to actually eliminate some of the things that we thought we'd have to build in our project, and they're going to build it in theirs, and they've simplified some things. So that I think helps us with that project. On the courthouse parking lots, we got our water tested this past week, and so we'll expect results from that from the pond at the end of the month, 1st of March, and so then we can move toward filling in the hole and completing the parking lot in the front of the courthouse. On the 7th of March, meet with the city council. There's a lot of new members to just explain the parking again and go for the vacation at Grant Street between Allen and Court Streets. That's really what we're requesting of the city, and that'll help us finalize and complete that parking lot as well. And then trying to shuffle people around right now, get juvenile into Annex 4, and so that Annex 3 will be ready to demo. We're also working with a fiber contractor to disconnect. Currently, the fiber that went to Annex 4 went onto the roof and into Annex 1, and then there was another umbilical cord that basically connected the two buildings. So we're making a straight link with Annex 4, so eventually we can get rid of Annex 1 at some point. And so I took Ken McEwen had somebody come talk to me and took him through the building, and it sounded like they were not really that excited about that building. So I don't know if we need to do more work or move forward with the original plan.
I'm of the opinion, let's move forward with our original plan, tear it down, let's get moving. And I think due to Commissioner Christopher's work, the public is aware of the costs, and now we're seemingly behind it as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if somebody shows up with a giant bag roll, I didn't know that.
Okay, thank you. That's what we'll do. On the maintenance side, our guys are on the east side, Goldendale East, we're grading and hauling rock. Our chipper is down, and so once that gets repaired, they'll continue to brush as well. On the west end, we're doing a lot of brushing since we don't really have winter, which is good. So we're catching up. The west side is really where things grow fast, and it's hard to keep up. So they're brushing up in Trout Lake and Glenwood, and they'll continue to do that as the weather is like this, and sanding where needed. Let's see, the facility side. We talked about working on filling the hole and completing that front parking lot. Still have punch list items for flooring, waiting for furniture, parts for our blinds, and our HVAC area. They're still working. It's a slow process to dial in the units, and then if we have to move towards something else to help, they'll do that, but we're not quite there yet. I think they're still, this week they'll still finish.
What did you do to the air conditioner in our office to turn the temperature setting thing down?
No, they actually put a muffler on the unit essentially to quiet it down.
Oh, I'm just saying that one day last week it was just hotter than 80s in those offices, and it never does that sound. And the next day it was like way lower, so I thought
So they've
Finally started working.
Yeah, so they finally well, they've had problems with one boiler and it's been down for a month and a half, 2 months. And so when they test it, they have to run it full bore. But it still shouldn't, in some cases, the temperature in the office space kept going up. So if that happens, people need to let us know because it's not supposed to. So even when they run it hard, doesn't mean that all the units in here run hard. So, yeah.
I would say for me, I did notice last week that the sound as far as it's much better, at least in my office. It's now acceptable as far as I actually didn't even recognize that I was having a conversation with somebody. I could hear them. The unit was on. All right. So there has been something has gotten better.
Yeah.
As far as at least with the noise.
Yeah, I think the unit in your guys' space is a lot better. I think above Lee though, they've, I think, adjusted the damper as far as they can get it to quiet it down. So they might be one area where they have to do something more. Because there's a lot of noise still in her space because the unit that provides most of the air in your space sits right above Lee. So, and there's other units like that that are still causing sound and vibration in spaces. So we'll work through it, but I'm glad to hear there's some improvement. The tapers and painters, they'll show up nights now. Again, there's still places that they haven't fixed, and then all the stairways, they haven't done those yet. So they'll tape the remaining dents and scrapes on the walls, and then they'll touch things up.
That's before the open house. Maybe.
Be close. Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
Yeah.
Yours.
Blue tape is explainable.
Yes.
Sometimes that's better.
Yeah.
Where you're like, well, they're not done yet.
Exactly.
I may read my own rule.
All right, so on the courthouse, we finished the front entry completely, so now we're taking the tarps off of it, and it's open, and so we're working our way toward completing all of that work.
What is the tent over there, by the way?
The tent on the vestibule, that's just so it stays dry, so that they could glue the pieces. So they still had pieces on the exterior that they had to glue.
Oh, okay.
All that trim in place, and so it's got to be dry, and so it just has kind of helped keep it that way. But it goes away today.
Okay.
And our carpenter is now working on some of the inside space there where we abated the asbestos last week in HR and your old offices. So we're starting to work on those two projects as well. We did receive a confirmation that our supplier for the HVAC units in the courthouse, they're all the parts and the units are in. And so we'll be scheduling that work for when the weather is a little warmer. Yeah, when we get a little warmer weather, the slack period for the units. Which is good news. It took a while, but they finally arrived.
Container ship.
Yeah.
Finally pulled into port.
9 months.
9 months.
Yeah. Radio site?
Radio sites, we're just the agreements over with the PA to look at. And Jeff got back from vacation. We got his buy-in on our design of the actual building. So we're continuing to move forward. I think the only holdup we're going to get into is I got to get a geotech up there so we can finish the design on the tower. But with the snow, it's awful hard to get a geotech up there. So, because we got to drill the site. So we're still moving forward on it though.
Okay, so SDP grants, they're a surface transportation program for rural roads, arterials, basically. So these are dollars that we receive allocation It typically in the past was like 700 or about 600 or 500. We've crept now up into the 700,000 range per year. And they require that we spend those dollars every year. So what we've done, because $700,000 doesn't buy you a lot anymore, I mean, on the transportation side. So we actually spend ahead. We used to save up and then pay for a project. Now they want you to spend ahead, which we do. But in the past, it's a program that, because it's federal dollars, you have to have certain certification to administer those dollars. So the county has a certified acceptance to spend and administer those federal dollars. Local cities do not. These dollars are for the cities and the county together. A lot of larger counties have MPOs, and so basically there's a different process where how they share those dollars between the bigger cities and the county. It's more competitive. So what we do and the smaller counties do is the county gets those STP dollars. Up until this last month, there was a 13.5% match. And then we would spend those dollars, and then there's a formula based on arterial mileage and population that then we give road dollars then, or unencumbered dollars to those counties since they can't use the SDP dollars. So in a typical year when we spend ahead, which is how we do it now, we spend about $2.3 to $2.6 million in a year. And the dollar amount that we pass on is about $200,000, rough numbers, to those small cities. So we pay the match and then we pay that. So it's almost like a double match for us. So while yes, we do receive those STP dollars, there's a cost to do that every time we get those for the small cities. So this past year, we built our Roosevelt Grade Road and West Darland, and we used STP dollars to do that. So this year, there's like a lag because we want to get reimbursed before we pass those dollars on to the small cities. So that's kind of where we're at. And so those dollars will be administered. So you'll see agreements that'll come before you. We're updating those based on current mileage and population updates. And then they'll go to the cities and the attorneys. And then eventually you'll see those and the dollars will then move.
So clarification, is that something that's mandated that we give to the cities, or is that something that we do out of, I don't know, the kindness of our heart?
They're dollars to be shared. They're for the whole county. That's how they're seen by the feds and the state. So yeah,
So if I may, though, to clarify, we're required to share the dollars because the cities are entitled.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the cities do benefit from the way we do it in that we are we basically are, I will say, sorry.
We're paying
Thank
the
you.
whole match.
Right, we're paying the match
Yes.
and
Yes.
and we're paying for the administration of the federal dollars.
Yes.
And the cities don't have to, they get unrestricted dollars. They trade theirs for unrestricted dollars. Of the sort. And so there is some benefit to the cities.
Yeah.
From this arrangement. They're getting some additional benefit than really they're entitled to, but I guess it.
Yeah, I mean, we could look at it for taking their match or distributing that match and reducing that amount based on the dollars that we have to spend.
Right.
To match
So if it's 13.5, they would get 13.5% less
their portion of that. Yeah.
of their
Yeah.
portion.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, that wasn't the reason I asked the question. I was just learning experience for me, so
Sure.
I know that situation. I'm not recommending that we knock 13.5% out of the city.
Okay.
Unless the board wants to discuss it.
Yeah.
That wasn't the point of my question, is all I wanted to make.
In the future, I think I mentioned to before that the match is changing on federal dollars. As so our bridge program, our safety dollars, and now these STP dollars. The states come up with this. I don't really understand the scheme, but it's almost seems like monopoly money. It's not real dollars.
Real dollars, yes.
But somehow they come up with a way, they call them toll credits that don't really exist, but they exist to offset our 13.5% match in this case. So basically, we could spend all those dollars that are obligated under the STP program and not have to match it in the future. That's essentially what happens, which benefits us. And there are a lot of other, I think,
What's the
grant
catch? Where's
opportunities.
where's the hook?
It may not last forever.
Yeah, they said they had about $600 million in these toll credits, whatever they are. But it's not, yeah, because at first we thought we could we can ask for more money, our extra 13.5%. But no, it's not dollars, just means you don't have to have a match for your federal STP dollars anymore. So
Essentially, somebody in some big city wanted to throw that in, and we're just the small dog getting to use it as well.
yeah, it's an odd thing. I'm not really sure I fully understand it. I just know I don't have to pay a match anymore. And that's for the time being, yeah. So what that may allow us to do is, I think there'll be a lot more grant opportunities with the state's $17 billion transportation budget that is getting voted on today. So I think there'll be, and the federal spending plan as well. So I think those dollars will help us be able to match some of those other grant opportunities that will come available.
Is there restrictions on those funds that there has to be so much traffic on a road, or that kind of thing, or can be just used on any road?
No.
They're arterial.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see, so we talked about the state's transportation package. We'll see what happens. I think I don't have a lot of details, but I think the state is moving, and there were a lot of proposed legislation, at least on electric vehicles and vehicle requirements. In the past, because our population is low, we've been under their thresholds for having to comply with the new rules, but eventually it'll work itself down to us as well. And I think we need to be aware of that, because that'll affect not only on the fleet of smaller vehicles, but also our heavy equipment. And there's things proposed, whether they actually get traction and become laws this year, since they're talking about it eventually, it will become a reality for us, and that will be a big expense, I think.
Well, part of that is a $1,000 rebate for electronic bicycles, so we might have to get a bunch of those and put snow plows on them.
Yeah.
Electric bikes, $1,000 rebate?
$7,000 rebate for electric vehicles, an extra $5,000 if you're low income and buy an electric vehicle, which, in my opinion, if you're low income and you spend $70,000 on a car, you probably, it's probably the reason why you have no money. And $1,000 rebate on electric.
I thought you weren't gonna talk today.
Watching the electric bike reports.
Yeah, it's shocking how much those cost, though.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it for my list.
A regular bike costs a lot right now.
That's true.
Any questions on not comments?
Nope.
Yes, Lee.
I just sent an email. The power outlets are not working up there.
Oh,
And I'm not sure
okay.
if they're working here, but I just sent an email to Rick.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
So-
Once our batteries are done, the day is over.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Short afternoon.
Uh-huh.
Any questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great day.
You too.
Double duty.
While we're waiting, I'm meeting with Parks and Rec is having their monthly meeting tomorrow, and I'm gonna be there to talk about what projects they have planned and try to get an update from them on what they have going on. So if you guys have any questions for me to ask them, let me know.
Do they have anything tied in with the Reds program?
Good question. That's
There's
part
my
of,
question.
that's part of I invited them to attend the KC BoCC meeting tomorrow to give their update
That's today.
today, say. I did not get an answer back on whether they were going to do that.
So they'll be there tomorrow.
They have their own board, so I'm hoping that.
Any updates, Dave?
All right.
You're going through the KC BoCC meeting minutes?
No, they had some stuff on the Reds, but Heather Joby was management at that time, and now Jennifer Smith is.
I just sent Director Quinn an email to let her know you're ready.
Oh, thank you. I had a hard time hearing last week. Did you vote no on Courtney Road?
Yeah, that's why 1 and 16 were accepted.
Okay, I didn't know if you wanted to have a discussion or, no?
I'll keep that one, especially today. I'm sure there will be ongoing discussion as we finance that project.
But you think it's gonna come in over that? Good morning.
Good morning.
It is a palindrome day, how do you say that properly?
Yes,
So watch out.
so I'll find out.
Day? It's two,
Palindrome.
palindrome, 2/20/20, 2/22.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Up to
There's
me.
another, it's forward and backwards. It's a palindrome and there's another one. 2 for 1. I assume I'm starting early.
Whenever you would like.
Great. So I think all of the numbers are in your packets. I got those over Thursday. So just wanted to touch base on some of the highlights for that. Clinical services continue to keep doing what they've been doing the entire time. Goldendale's transitioning to a walk-ins welcome to increase availability or access for people that are wanting to utilize our clinical services. We have applied for a telehealth grant. I think I might have already spoken to this. We should hear in the next couple of weeks. It's $1,800. That's not true. It's for $10,000 for equipment and infrastructure to increase telehealth in our family planning services. We also just received an $1,800 grant that will be used for advertising and staff appreciation. So the program is concerned about staff retention across the board, not just within our own department, and so that they offered those resources to us. So we will be working with that as well. Our perinatal mental health program is going to expand. They've seen 21 individuals to date. Those are all been in Bingen. They are going to add an additional facilitator that is bilingual and actually located in Goldendale so that they can start branching out the success of the program to this end of the county. And we still are offering the naloxone program that's available in both offices by request. So the individual that would be requesting them would just have to speak with the nurse and they would do some training with them and then they can take that for free. So anyone that's concerned about potential drug overdose in their life has access to that naloxone for free. I think it's available in other areas of the county as well, but both the White Salmon and Goldendale Health Department will have that available. Environmental health definitely is not as busy as they have been in 2021, but still working through a lot of stuff. Leanne's on the point of her training as a food inspector, where she's now able to do some solo inspections, and is one step closer to getting signed off, where she's just completely independent. They have a pretty robust training program on what you need to do to get through that. She's reworking the MailChimp program so that she can start sending to all the food vendors updates and that sort of thing.
Is that a state training or is that our own internal?
I think it's our own internal that's based on the state guidance, but
Okay.
don't quote me on that one. We utilize state guidance a lot. We don't make up a lot of our own stuff, so. Otherwise, as far as their administrative stuff, they're really working hard on getting the digitizing all of the files that they had not gotten digitized by the intern last summer. They're integrating those all into SmartGov, so there's just a digital access to all of that rather than paper file folders. And then all new projects moving forward will be scanned into the system as well. They've also been in their slower season working through a lot of workflows and process policies and procedures that hadn't been captured adequately in the past, so that those are all available for both offices to utilize, and making sure that processes are the same in both ends of the county. So Skinny County, we continue to work with them on food and environmental health, and are continuing to do so. And then as far as COVID goes, we're at week 102. Mask mandate indoor ends March 21st. I think it's
It's like a year.
I know. It does. Yeah. The indoor mask mandate will end March 21st. People are still able to wear masks. I think that's important for some people to understand. Some people may not be comfortable taking their masks off yet, but it's not a requirement. So the case count numbers, I think from last Thursday, are a little different than what you have. So I think we're at 3530 this morning. There's 52 active cases, and we were notified of one more death through the death certificate processing. So.
Question on that. Do you know when the state updates their yearly death numbers?
I do not know the answer to that, no.
I have all of them except for 2021.
I would guess like March through July sometime. It's usually 6 to 36 months kind of after the close, but that's just based on some other updates they do, not because I actually know. We're still giving vaccines. Scheduling is still available on Tuesdays in Goldendale, Thursdays in White Salmon. People can also walk in for those. We have home test kits available. We've already distributed 2,000 through the health department. They're also available through other places in the county. You can still get them at USPS if you go onto their website and sign up for that. And then the Washington DOH kind of has occasional availability, so it's important to just kind of check back if you look there and you hadn't seen them before. It's important to remember these test kits that both we and other partners have distributed do expire. I think the outdates I've seen are between June and July, so hoarding them may not help you for fall if that's something that you haven't looked at. So. Otherwise, for admin stuff, we have a lot of admin stuff happening. The website is being updated. There's 3 people that are working on reviewing the information to make sure it's correct, and then just updating the format. Athena's been really helpful, like making things look kind of tight and right on that. So that they've done a really good job. It looks really nice. The digitizing of clinical records is continuing to happen. We looked for an outside vendor to help us with that, and we're unable to engage with anyone. So the front office staff in Goldendale have been scanning through those. They've already gone through over 500 records that have been digitized and are out of the boxes. EH, I think they're about 50% through their paper files, so they'll have those done pretty quickly. we have a final financial audit. We had a financial audit last July, that we did not perform well on. And so we will be doing our follow-up audit next month, and I believe that we'll have everything taken care of for them, so that we will be off their radar as far as increased paperwork and accountability with them. There will still be a lot of accountability, but we've had to do a lot of extra steps to follow up with that. So we have a lot of staff changes happening. Lisa, our nurse practitioner, she's a casual contracted employee. She came back from maternity leave and was with us for about a month and a half, and she's going to be transitioning to another position. So we asked Connie, who had covered for Lisa's maternity leave, to just continue on, and she's agreed to do that. She came to us from Skamania County. She has a lot of experience. I think also she worked at North Central Tri over across the river, so a lot of health department experience. We're really grateful to have her. We are looking at potentially getting Title X funding back for our for our family planning program, and I think she'll be a really good leader in getting that programming back up and running. So, and she also used to do the Title X auditing, so knows exactly what the programs look like and what they need to do. Sherry, our nurse downstairs, who's been instrumental in the COVID immunization program this last year, is going to complete her nurse midwife training, and so she'll be leaving us in a couple of weeks as well, and we've advertised for her position. And then we have a front office position in Goldendale open, and Lori Klug stepped back in to fill that, or to cover that front desk spot while we're looking. So looking forward, we have a potential opportunity for $180,000 of funding over a 2-year period for some community health workers. It'd be similar to the 5930 money that we used to get, that obesity prevention, that funded a community health educator type position. So they're looking at that coming up sometime this summer, and I think we're doing a lot of outreach. They've gone out, they were out at the orchards last week to do vaccines. Been doing radio shows. We had someone go to one of the Kiwanis meetings. I'll be attending the Rotary meeting today, so just continuing to kind of move on with public health overall outside of COVID, but still managing COVID as it, otherwise, pending your questions, that's all I got.
That one might completely out of the park.
Thank you.
Questions, gentlemen?
Yeah, I did have a question. Back to you, which I'm pleased to hear about the digitizing of the records and getting those all in there. Are those, are those records, understanding a lot, especially the client files and all those things are going to be, it's highly unlikely there'd be much in there that could be disclosable in a public records request. But the on-site septic and those kind of things because I'm asking everybody this when they bring this up, because sometimes digitizing just to digitize is not necessarily helping.
Throwing it out.
Yeah, as far as is the way it's being done, is that database searchable? Is this going to help, do you think, if you got a public records request or are people going to go back to, I got to dig through the boxes and look at the paper files?
There are no boxes or paper files. So
Well, that
at least
answers one question.
with the clinical, and I micromanage the clinical records. So those are, because those will be uploaded into our electronic medical record. So there are very specific ways in which you scan and file those,
Okay.
so that they will integrate into the health record. So those are done. The environmental health are going into SmartGov. So my understanding of SmartGov is that should integrate with all of the parcel numbers, and I have not
But to the best of
micromanaged
your
them.
knowledge, the answer is yes.
Yes, that is correct.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
I like that answer.
No, they put a lot of the records retention and how they're doing. I know they put a lot of work into making sure that it was correct. I just haven't micromanaged that process as much as I did the clinical.
And do you know, as far as the, just something it's something to remember too, is that when people are digitizing things, because I think we found that in, some of our public records, like the auditor they had before, the current auditor before, where they had a project where people came in and had somebody do it. Well, the quality of the how they did it was not super good. And so you will get them and they're almost unreadable because people were not paying, they were just doing it. And it's like, oh yeah, these are scanned, they're good. And that folks are paying attention when they're doing it, that the quality of the recording of the copy is good enough that it's actually usable.
Yeah, no, they're
Because
using.
there's things in
yeah.
the public record, in the recorded documents, that you routinely have to go to the title companies and get copies of their documents because their copies are so much better of the
Than
originals than
ours.
ours that are
But a
in
lot of
our.
those were those picture film things.
Right, they're the old stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they're using just the copy machine scanner downstairs. It's
I mean,
been
I think
putting up pretty
technology is way
quality.
better
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
so.
Than before our auditors.
Than before
Where
it was.
say you're at with all that archive scan?
So each said they're about 50% through their stuff in Goldendale. Whites or the clinical records, I would say they're probably about 30%.
Do you estimate there will be another?
I have no idea because they're doing it in between other duties as a sign, right? Like you have downtime, you start scanning records. So it's hard to just say, this is what we're gonna do. I think we're gonna retain Lori Klug. Once we fill that front office position, we'll retain her as a casual employee just to come in one day a week and just scan until the project's completed.
Are we thinking at the end of this year or the end of next year?
Oh gosh, no, I'm thinking like June. I asked for March. That's not gonna work out, but yeah, I mean, no promises, but like that's what works out in my head.
Because I'm thinking like June is better than other departments that are thinking, I'm thinking like 2024.
Oh gosh,
So,
no.
yeah.
Mm-mm. No, I would like it done this year. I think Goldendale will be done by June. White Salmon, I think, will not be done as early, but they're knocking it out of the park downstairs. They're getting it. I am just really impressed with the work they're getting done.
And I would say your updates, it's beautiful. Some of the pictures aren't from Klickitat County though, even though I love Tackalack Lake.
I will let my people know,
Are we gonna get a copy
because
ready
I
for
didn't
first
catch that.
You can't even see Tackalack Lake for Klickitat. I don't think.
No, unless you're
On
high
a
above
plane
it, up
over
high
Klickitat,
above it.
you can see-
Yeah.
For
Still
sure.
tough.
I will let them know.
It is a beautiful picture though. And I was looking at it, I was like,
What's wrong
that's
with
not
it?
from this
It's
clip.
right.
It looks beautiful.
Not our county. Okay. No.
It doesn't have to be from our county, it just needs to be a pretty picture.
I disagree. It needs to be from our.
Well, that's why I brought it up.
Thank you for having the drive and determination to get in your department and get in your employees. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any other questions, gentlemen?
No.
Thank you for everything you
Alright.
do. Have a great day.
Yes.
Enjoy 2/22/22.
Especially at 2:22 and 22 seconds.
Yeah, it might even be 22 degrees by then.
Have
Thank you.
a good day.
Go call them real quick just to be sure. are en route.
More map like that. That's
Good morning, everyone. More chairs at the table.
We can just slide a chair up. Might as well, why not?
Better to see them. May I have a copy?
Oh, yeah. How are you gentlemen today? And ladies? Another day in paradise, huh?
Yep.
Whenever you're ready, Sheriff.
I gotta take that off. Anyway, there were a total of 1,488 calls for service from January 1 of this year to February 17th of this year. In addition to the calls for service, deputies served a total of 116 civil papers during the same time period. We will be updating the range timber deputy current contract, with the new stakeholders that have purchased SDNS timberlands. We need to determine if they want to continue with the range deputy program. In other words, donate money to that project. Karen has a meeting set up, and I'll let her cover that here in a little bit. Give you more information on that. On February 4th, and I'll have Tim go over that, I'll just give you a quick. On February 4th, at approximately 8:59 p.m., Deputy Tony Warren, Deputy Mitch Cagley, and Sergeant Joe Riggers responded to a domestic dispute at the Murdoch Minute Mart in Murdoch, Washington. Dispatch advised a female subject has assaulted a male subject. Dispatch also reported both subjects that appeared to be intoxicated. During their investigation of the incident, the two subjects were identified as Ronald Brooks of Bellingham and Anna Castro, also of Bellingham, Washington. It was also determined that both subjects had mutual protection orders. Castro was not to have contact with Brooks. Brooks was not to have contact with Castro. Deputies also determined that Brooks had minor injuries from the fight he had with Castro. And at this point, if it's all right with the board, I'll turn it over to the Undersheriff and he can go more detail on the press release, and then he'll give updates on some of the new laws, legislative action that's being taken based on the laws they passed last year on police reform.
On February 4th, 2022, at around 20:59 hours, Deputy Tony Warren, Deputy Mitch Kegley, and Sergeant Riggers responded to a domestic disturbance at the Murdoch Mini Mart in Murdoch, Washington. Dispatch advised a female subject had assaulted a male subject. Dispatch also reported both subjects appeared to be under the influence of alcohol. At around 21:04 hours, Deputy Warren arrived and contacted the male outside of a vehicle, and the female located in the passenger seat in that vehicle in the parking lot of the Murdoch Mini Mart. Deputy Warren initially spoke with the male subject, who identified himself as Ronald Brooks of Bellingham, Washington. Deputy Warren provided dispatch with Brooks's information, and dispatch advised of mutual protection orders between Brooks and a female named Anna Castro. Dispatch advised the order was issued out of Bellingham, Washington. Deputy Warren observed minor injuries on Brooks and noted Brooks appeared to be intoxicated. Brooks stated he and the female had only been arguing. After Sergeant Riggers and Deputy Kegley arrived, Deputy Warren attempted to speak with the female. The female declined to identify herself or say what had happened. A witness came forward advising the witness had observed the female assault Brooks. Deputy Warren requested dispatch contact the Bellingham Police Department to find out if they had a photograph of Castro. A short time later, the Bellingham Police Department emailed a copy of the photograph of Castro. Deputy Warren, Deputy Kegley, and Sergeant Riggers compared the photograph with Castro with the female and confirmed the female was Castro. The mutual protection orders prevented Castro from having contact with Brooks and also prevented Brooks from having contact with Castro. Brooks was arrested without incident, but Castro armed herself with a set of large toenail clippers, about yay big, and was saying the deputies would have to kill her. Castro also barricaded herself inside the vehicle. Deputy Warren and Sergeant Riggers both made attempts to talk with Castro, but she continued to be uncooperative. Deputy Robert Bianchi, who is a certified negotiator, was called out to try reasoning with Castro. Castro was told many times she was under arrest, but she continued to not cooperate. After a period of time, Deputy Warren was able to pull Castro from the vehicle with the assistance of Sergeant Riggers and a Washington State Patrol trooper who had stopped by to assist. Castro began to physically resist being arrested and was taken to the ground. While Castro was fighting her arrest, Castro bit Deputy Warren on his right calf muscle. Castro was given multiple orders to stop biting Deputy Warren, resulting in Sergeant Riggers having to apply pressure with a pen to Castro's jaw to get her to stop biting Deputy Warren's calf muscle. Castro was then secured in handcuffs, and the Dallasport medics responded to evaluate Castro for any possible injuries. Deputy Warren noted Castro appeared to be under the influence of alcohol. Brooks was booked into the Klickitat County Jail for violation of a protection order, and Castro was booked in the Klickitat County Jail for assault in the 3rd degree, resisting arrest, violation of protection order, and assault in the 4th degree. Brooks is being held on a $15,000 bail, and Castro is being held on $20,000 bail. Deputy Warren sustained only minor injuries in the incident. The Klickitat County Sheriff's Office would like to thank the Washington State Patrol Dallasport medics, and the emergency management 911 operators for their assistance in handling this situation. Sheriff Songer would like to thank the witnesses for reporting the incident to the sheriff's office and would like to commend Deputy Warren, Deputy Kegley, and Sergeant Riggers in their professionalism in handling this difficult situation. The law enforcement officers showed extreme restraint and patience in dealing with this situation. So both Sergeant Riggers' dash camera and Deputy Warren's dash camera were both pointed at the vehicle and actually got, each one got a different perspective of that. Body cameras that we should be getting here shortly, that will just provide additional information, which is helpful in there. During the interaction, Tony Warren did pull his taser and was thinking about tasing her, but he realized that if he had used the taser, she probably would have just bitten down harder. So the tactics that they used were outside the box. It was a great way to deal with the situation.
I would say that sounded like smart thinking.
Very, very smart on their part. So they did a great job. And the video of the incident, you know, when they actually get her out of the car, it's an hour and 12 minutes into their contact with her. So they went way above and beyond, but they were concerned because you get some large clippers and they've got files on them. I've never seen some that large, but you're always worried about that file because it's the same thing as like a knife, and they're worried about it escalating from there. So they took extra steps to try to de-escalate stuff there. On the state legislature, there are a couple of bills that have moved out of committees. One is the vehicle pursuit policy. The sheriff and I both testified on that. It's moved out of committee, but I have not heard an update on that one. There is a use of force one that has moved out of committee that kind of defines what use of force is. So as you read the law now, it's open to interpretation. So one prosecutor may say, well, if they simply walk over and put handcuffs on that person, that's a use of force. Another prosecutor may say, no, I don't think that is. So it really doesn't define for what law enforcement has done under the changes they made last year. So they are working on fixing that stuff. The Attorney General looked at the law and said, yeah, technically, even compliant handcuffing would be a use of force. And then they would have to report that to the Criminal Justice Training Commission. And then the Criminal Justice Training Commission would have to do an investigation and determine whether it's justified or not. So they are all been working together to try to fix some of that stuff.
Aren't they fixing the, I mean, I haven't followed up on it in the last couple of weeks, is the bill that's clarifying 50 caliber ammo.
That's another one that they're working on as
Still
well.
moving forward.
And my understanding is that's still moving forward. So we're still in that. We've got to fix these messes that we've created. Well, I'm putting myself in their shoes because we're not fixing those. We're trying to speak up.
The mess they create.
Yes, exactly. So, we do have some positive news. I think we can talk about it now. Representative Gina Rosbecker contacted the Sheriff Songer yesterday and reported that she had secured $670,000 for the Sheriff's Office animal shelter. So this is related to a proposal that I had submitted a couple months ago, requesting about $824,000 for us to build a animal shelter, which is needed in our community.
You and Karen.
Excuse me, Karen had worked with me on that. We actually had some input from other citizens as well on that. So $670,000 is a great start for us. What we would like to do is work with the commissioners on locating maybe some property the county already owns. Because if we can reduce the cost of, in one area, we don't have to worry about costs in other areas. I still am planning on forming a group that we can set up a 501c3 so that can be the funding source for whatever comes up with a facility like this. So we have a number of people in the community that want to volunteer, and we want to be able to facilitate that for volunteers in our community.
You'd like to see that in the Dallasport area.
Yeah. Ideally would, we've kind of talked about different areas, and I don't know if there's something in Dallasport that the county owns that we could look into a facility for, you know, placing a facility down there.
Kind of a central location. And it looks like we would have a buy-in from White Salmon as well as Goldendale.
Goldendale for sure.
Yeah,
We're not
Goldendale
sure on
for
the
sure.
others.
And Skamania County even talked about, because they have no facility as well.
But if we could do the
There's other
work with
monies
our
that could
partners.
come in.
But yeah, getting the money was a huge hurdle, so 670,000, it's not the 824 that we asked for, but that's at least a start.
Where did you come up with the 824?
So we came up with 800,000, just to try to plan things out, so, we were looking at land purchase, getting a building built, getting all the equipment, and then the cost to run a facility for a period of time. We figured we would shoot a little bit high, so we came up with an $800,000 target amount over the next, you know, basically they've given us 10 years. And the 24,000 is actually something that the state adds on. It's a required, if you're over 500,000, you have to add, I think it's a 3% fee or something like that. So that's where we came up with that money. So the 670,000 is more than we initially were hoping for. And then
Mental health.
Gina also reported that there's going to be a little over $1 million. It's $1,030,000, or excuse me, $1,030,000 for a comprehensive healthcare facility in Goldendale. I wasn't part of that part. You were part of that, weren't you?
Yeah, that goes back, I think we started about 2 years ago. Initially, when we look across the street at the church, and they sold or whatever, and that fell through, so. But anyway, she broke the good news yesterday that money is available for a mental health facility, so, which is a good deal.
So that's close to 2 million out of a total of, looks like 28 million that they dedicated. So Klickitat County did very well in getting some funding brought back from the
Thanks to
state.
Gina.
Thanks to Gina.
Chris and them.
Yep. Do you have anything else for me to update?
Might talk about this Google. Oh, I did have one thing, gentlemen. I got a call this morning from a Tracy McEwen. Apparently she's on the fire department in Lyle. And she claims that she has the account for the Red Cross doing certain events, and her name and her account's being used without her permission. So she may be contacting you gentlemen this afternoon or sometime. I said, well, I know nothing about that. I said, you need to talk to the board, because he understood that you were gonna make an award or something for the Red Cross. And she wanted to let you guys know that her account is being misused.
So this pertains to the $1 million.
Yeah. Good luck.
We also received, sounds like you guys had some discussions last week on the chat feature on Google for employees. We are asking that you reconsider that for a number of different reasons. If we had an active shooter in the building, if somebody hit on Google Chats, basically hit everybody and sent out a message, then people could get that information out pretty quick. We use Google Chats on a regular basis in the sheriff's office, especially in the jail, and communication between the courts and the jail. A lot of times a hearing is going on. They send out a message so that we can line up the next people.